So, what's it really like for moms who choose not to breastfeed? On today's episode, I'm going to share with you my experience of choosing not to breastfeed and what happened as a result of that. Let's go ahead and jump on in. Welcome to the Mini Mommy podcast, where we have short and sweet real talks for moms. We keep it short because you're a busy mom and so am I. So, let's just get straight to the point. Today, as I said, I'm going to be sharing with you about my decision not to breastfeed and what resulted from that. Now, it's a little bit of a controversial topic, I feel like. So I'm even a little bit nervous to share about my experience because I think there are some women who may not really understand where I'm coming from. However, for those of you who have chosen to formula feed, you might be able to relate and hopefully find a little bit of comfort in knowing that there's someone else who has gone through what you've gone through. So I'm going to go ahead and jump on in and share with you my decision why not to breastfeed. So, yes, I want to start off by saying that there are very clear benefits for baby and even for mom to breastfeed, right? Breast milk has lots of great nutrition and it helps with their immunization. There's great things for mom benefits that she gets to experience as well. And I knew all of this going into having a baby, and I learned more about it as well. However, being a little bit of an older mom, I have been around plenty of women who have nursed their babies, and I've got to see it firsthand what their experience was like. And watching other women's experience really kind of dictated how I felt about it. So, for the first reason why being, I am a very modest person. I have always been that way. I was the girl who wasn't changing in front of other girls in the locker room. I was gathering my clothes and going to the stall and changing there. And so there's something about this idea of really having to expose yourself every time you breastfeed that I just knew I wasn't going to feel comfortable with. I didn't really want to be the woman sitting in the corner covered up with a blanket breastfeeding her child so that other people didn't see her. I even thought probably at home by myself, I'm not going to want to be doing that either. And that might be hard for some women to understand. I feel like if you know, you know. If that's you, you get it. But that's just where I came from. I knew that I wasn't going to feel comfortable being exposed every time I had to feed my child. The second reason I knew that I wanted to formula feed was I had this sense that I was going to want some autonomy back after pregnancy. Now, I knew from seeing other women that pregnancy is no joke, it's hard work. I had no idea how hard. I had a very difficult pregnancy. That's a story for another time. But even not knowing what my pregnancy was going to be like, I had this sense that I was going to want my body back. I knew that I was going to want to have my body back to myself. I had seen plenty of other women who breastfed, and it really just seemed like their body was still not their own. Now, some women love that. Some women love the ability that they could feed their child from their own body, and it's empowering and it's a bonding time, and they love that nurturing ability. I just had the sense that it wasn't going to be for me, that that's not what I was going to want for myself. Finally, the last reason that kind of cinched it for me was that I didn't want to be the only source of food for my child. I wanted other people to have the ability to feed him. Now I know moms can pump and then other people can feed using breast milk, or you can even do 50-50, 60-40, where it's part breast milk, part formula. I know there's other options. Going into it, I just wanted it to be simple. I just wanted to know that anybody could pick up a bottle and feed my child. Now, I will say all of the reasons I had for why I didn't want to breastfeed going into motherhood, I have seen those play out, and they've been correct for me. They've worked for me. I have appreciated the autonomy of having my body back. I have appreciated that my husband can feed my child and he was able to do that from day one. I do appreciate that I have some modesty that I get to maintain for myself. But let me share a little bit about what I did do and how I might do things a little bit differently. So I began noticing that although I had these practical reasons for why I didn't want to breastfeed, I wasn't anticipating that there was going to be an emotional side to it. Even in pregnancy, I was beginning to feel like a little bit of like this guilt of like, oh, I don't want to breastfeed. What's wrong with me? And I don't think people mean to, but especially doctors kind of give you the sense of like they expect you're going to breastfeed. And rightfully so. We know there are so many benefits. So, going into getting ready for my little one to be born, I thought, I know what I'll do. I will pump for him, and then we'll have the best of both worlds. I'll pump, he'll still get the breast milk, I'll get some benefits too, but I won't have to breastfeed. And boy, did I underestimate this. If you exclusively pump, you deserve a gold medal. That stuff is no joke. It is hard to exclusively pump, and I grossly underestimated what that was going to be like. So if you do that, kudos to you. And if you haven't done it before and you don't know what I'm talking about, spend some time researching it before you decide that's the path you want to go. But basically, about 2 to 3 weeks after my son was born, and me trying to exclusively pump, but also feed him formula and trying to figure it out, I was waving that white flag and just like, I cannot do this anymore. I was doing 30-minute pump sessions and getting like next to no milk. It was very uncomfortable. It was a mess. It was a mess. And I did not really know what I was getting myself into. But like I said, that emotional piece made me feel like I need to at least try this. Now, as I said, I gave up. We were strictly just a formula fed baby, and that's fine. And like I said, many of the benefits that I was hoping I would get from formula feeding, I have seen to be true, but that emotional piece still continues to be there for me. So early on, maybe within the first month or so of having my son, I took him to church, and at church, we have a nursing mother's room. Now, I'll be honest, right off the bat, I thought to myself, am I allowed to go in there? I'm not nursing my son. And I thought, you're being silly. That's ridiculous. Of course you can. I needed a quiet place to be able to feed him. So I went into the nursing mother's room, started feeding him, took out his bottle, and we began. And during that time, a mom walked in with her daughter and she started to breastfeed her. Now, this mom didn't say anything, she didn't do anything. It's all me in myself. I just began to feel the sense of shame, like she was a real mom and I was just like this imposter mom. I was just kind of like maybe his caretaker and not really his mom because I was bottle feeding him and not breastfeeding him. I was not expecting to feel that kind of shame in choosing formula feeding over breastfeeding. I did not think it was going to make me feel like I wasn't a real mom. Now, I can step back from that and I can realize that's not true. Of course, I'm his mom. And I will say that, for some people might think, like, well, what about bonding and things like that? Trust me, my son and I are very well bonded to each other, and not breastfeeding has not in any way, shape, or form affected that. But it did catch me by surprise, the shame that I felt in not breastfeeding. Now, time has gone by. My son is well fed, well cared for, well loved. And I feel like I've been a little bit healthier than maybe I would have been if I was breastfeeding. Again, I don't know for sure because I didn't go that path, but I feel pretty good in the decision that I've made. Now, the question is, if I were to have a second, would I also do the same thing? Would I formula feed? I've thought a lot about that, and I do think that I would be willing to try breastfeeding, but by giving myself a time frame of saying 4 weeks, 6 weeks, let's see what it's like. If it doesn't work for me, that's okay. And I will feel confident in saying, it's all right that it didn't work. I can move on to formula feeding and knowing that this baby will also be bonded to me, will also be well fed and well taken care of and well loved. Now, I would love to know your experience. If you are a mom who chose to formula feed, why did you choose that for yourself? Was it something that you had to do or something that you wanted to do? And did you experience that emotional side of it? Did you experience any of that shame that kind of came along with not breastfeeding your child? Or maybe was that just me? It's probably not just me. I'm sure there's other women who experience the same thing too. But that is a little bit of my story and why I chose not to. And I will say, if I haven't made it clear so far, I'll make it clear now. I am not sorry that I chose to formula feed my child. Yes, there's been some challenges, some unexpected, but ultimately it's what worked for me and my family. If something else works for you, that's awesome and wonderful. This is just what has worked well for me. So that's a little bit of my story. Please feel free to share with me yours. I'd love to know what your experience has been. We're going to end this week's episode with a segment I like to call How Long Does That Last? So, as a mom, there are some things that we do, and I'm wondering, how long does this go on for? So, for example, the one thing I'm going to share with you today is I'm wondering, how long do I check that my son is breathing? I knew that as a newborn, I probably was going to be checking to make sure that he was breathing all the time. And I did. And I think that's very normal. But we're 7 months in, and I am still checking to make sure that that little guy is breathing. And I'm starting to think that this doesn't end anytime soon. I have visions of myself, like, sneaking into his room when he's 16 years old to make sure that he's still breathing at night. Is this normal? I don't know. How long does this go on for? Maybe it's just a mom thing that never ends. But yeah, that's my thing that I think oftentimes, how long am I going to be doing this for? Take a moment and share with me what's something that you are wondering how long you'll be doing that as a mom. And join us next time for the next episode of the Mini Mommy Podcast.